Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hot Glue and Bobby Pins, a podcast by creators for creators and anyone who wants an inside look at the lives of people who make things and talk about them on the internet. We invite you to come along and experience it all with us.
Yes, and today we're going to be talking about gatekeeping. Not passing judgments, simply discussing the phenomena that happens in our community and probably all communities.
Yep, and just a note, we are going to be playing devil's advocate. We want to be able to explore all perspectives regarding these topics. It's okay to disagree with us or agree with us. We won't even agree or disagree with everything that we're saying. There's just so much surrounding this topic. It's a very polarizing thing to talk about. So just bear that in mind. Hear the information and decide what you think about it in the end.
Yeah, and I think we've both been a little apprehensive to talk about this, but I definitely think it's an important topic to discuss. So go easy on us. We're just going to talk about the things.
Yep. All right, let's talk about what the term gatekeeping means. What does that mean to you, Sophie?
Gatekeeping is like, you can gatekeep whole communities, I guess, but when I think of gatekeeping, I immediately think about the gatekeeping of information. So, keeping everything you've learned to yourself, not sharing it with your peers or community. What about you?
I would say that is one of the definitions. I remember asking on Facebook, like, if anyone had any questions about it, and there was just answers from all over the board. I was kind of not expecting all of the variety. But yeah, it can be keeping information from other fellow cosplayers in a sort of competitive business standpoint. And other people were talking about it meaning like gatekeeping from communities, saying like you don't belong in this community or that community or whatever.
Yeah.
Things like that. The stuff that we're going to be talking about is mostly related to the business side of things, with like contacts and like sources for cosplay materials and other things like that. But just know that just because we're not talking about it extensively, this isn't the only type of gatekeeping that there is. So my voice just cracked. It's really cool.
I'm sure people experience gatekeeping in all sorts of ways. The term is so ambiguous, for sure.
Yeah. So do you think there's a difference between gatekeeping and sort of protecting your contacts?
So this is something I do feel pretty passionate about. I think that, I think it's just such a hard thing to discuss. So I definitely do think that there are cases where protecting your contacts, protecting your brand and your business, the information you have is necessary, right? Because otherwise people start to use you. Like I've been there for sure. But I also think as a whole, like, gatekeeping is just bad. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I learn something, it takes nothing away from me to share that with my community.
Yeah. In regards to especially like sources for fabrics and stuff, like that type of thing, I think is really easy to just kind of be like, oh yeah, I got this from Joann's and it's called such and such vinyl or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's also the element of, say you meet somebody who works or owns, just for example, a video game company, right? And you are in a place where you get to meet this person in person. They're somebody who's super in demand. Like a lot of people want to know this person because they can get them into places. And you just happen to be lucky enough to meet them. And now you have their email. And people flood to you for that email. I think that you should protect that contact because that person probably doesn't want everyone in the world to have their email. Yeah. And that can be misconstrued as gatekeeping.
Agreed. And there's also like the other end of the spectrum where like there's like a discussion, or there should be, I guess, a discussion on like how much should you ask of people, especially of your friends.
Yes.
Like you should really be conscious of what you're asking and how much you're asking of somebody, because it can get kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think if every time like you post about like a partnership or a sponsorship, you have somebody who messages you and is like, oh, how do I do that? How do I, you should lead people, in my opinion, you should lead people to like help people figure out how to make media kits and how to, approach these companies or be attractive to these companies, but you're not under an obligation to suggest all of the people to these companies. Does that make sense?
It does. It's like, I don't know, you've spent so much time working on yourself and your brand, and it can feel a little bit weird when someone it seems like they want to use you for your contacts or whatever. And like, I don't even have a ton of contacts, but I think a lot of people assume, like, if they assume that you do, they're just like, you've got to have somebody for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, maybe sometimes, but not always.
Has there been a time where you like couldn't decide whether or not somebody was talking to you because they just genuinely were, say somebody messaged you asking a question? Has there been, about the industry of cosplay, has there been a time or times where you genuinely were like, I can't decide if it's gatekeeping to not give them the information or if I have a right to withhold?
Well, I don't know. So I know I'm always like super open about my rates and stuff. And I feel like, I think it's good to give people ballparks and stuff. And I was always someone that was like, ask me a number, or what my numbers are. I'll give you all my numbers. I don't care. But then it's kind of like, if you go a really long time without getting paid gigs, and you have everyone tell you that you're too expensive, you're just like, well, what's going on? Like, is everyone just like asking for less than me and not telling me? Like, they're not telling me like what this, because there is no standard. There's like no way to tell. And so I'm not sure if putting my numbers out there was a good idea. Like, I don't think any of my close friends would do that, of course, that I've been super open with about my numbers. But it's hard to tell sometimes with like the random people that will message you and ask for that information. You don't know if they're going to like, motives. You don't know if they're going to ask that same amount or whatever. Cause I don't like, I'll give a number, but then I'll be like, this might be a ballpark for somebody of my size. So you may want to adjust it to your size or whatever. So I don't know. It can be confusing. I'm kind of confused right now talking about it.
No, I understand that. I think there's just so much that goes into it, because I could probably rant about the subject for hours. Like, I've always, so on my stuff, especially with the marketing stuff I teach and the marketing workshops I do at conventions, one of the things I always say is like, when it comes to marketing, I always aim to smash gatekeeping. Like, if I find out something that works on the algorithms, something that's going to help you grow, I'm going to tell you what that is immediately. It's like, for instance, like right now it's trendy to buy there's a bunch of Instagram pages you can buy posts on. And some of the biggest names in our industry are doing that. And that's something that was like hush hush, like it was passed along quietly. Yeah. Like that's how you get on these pages.
I had no idea until you told me about it. I'm just like, you can do that?
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts. Like, that's cool. Like,
you see these
I had no idea.
Exploding, and you wonder like, wow, they're all over the place. Because there's several of these pages that once you get posted there, other pages watch and they pick you up, and it starts like a landslide of interaction and follows. Stuff like that being gatekept makes me so upset. Like, but I also get it. So personally, it makes me like upset for people, just because there's so many like young creators who are just getting started, and they don't understand why they aren't growing as fast as other people. Whereas, just explaining to them how that's happening, like, first off, it takes away nothing from other people who are doing it, but that helps, I think, their mental health, I would think. Because if I'm brand new to this and I'm just like, wow, all these other people are booming and they're on all of these share pages, but, I never get picked for those share pages.
Yeah.
When really the people are just reaching out, asking how much. Like,
right.
I think access to that information is super important.
I agree, and I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and I kind of feel the same. Like, some of my pages are really stagnant, and if you had just kind of done your thing with the share page and just been like, oh, I don't know how I'm growing. Wow, that's really weird. Cool. They shared me. Like, act like, I don't know, just like feigning surprise that you're growing and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and then I found out that that's what you were doing later. I would kind of be like hurt by it, because it's like that kind of thing. It doesn't take anything away from you. And then, like, vice versa, I would expect you to feel hurt if I did that. The same thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's just, if you can help without it hurting your brand or whatever, then I think that's a really good thing to do. It's really beneficial.
Yeah. I think so as well. I think that what in this day and age, a lot of people don't realize that creators have, a lot of creators have a marketing budget. And it doesn't always mean buying share pages, but it also means, I guess that's the marketing budget part. But there's like Reddit, like everyone is using Reddit.
Except for me.
And how to use Reddit. But if you hate that, but you need access to that information. Like I now know that a bunch of big creators who I really respect and have watched grow have secondary and third Reddits that are not in their name that they're sharing their content with, or fake leaking their content. And that's getting them lots of follows, and it's getting them lots of patrons and OnlyFans. And like, that's okay. I judge nobody for how they choose to do their business. Like, you get your following and your money. But I just think it's important that we be honest about that. That's what's important to me. Like, I am an open book about my growth, my marketing budget, my tactics. And that's the type of gatekeeping, I think, that, because I do understand some industry gatekeeping, you know, like keeping your numbers. What do you think are some reasons gatekeeping happens?
I think people do get afraid that they're going to be undermined, because in other industries, there's a lot of competition between, like in the sales industry, there's a ton of competition on like accounts and stuff and like contacts or whatever. Like, people are afraid that if people find out their numbers, they're just going to go behind their back and contact that person and be like, well, you don't have to give me that much. I'll take $100 less.
Yeah.
And
shady.
Yeah. And it's hard to know who you can trust with that information.
Yeah.
So I see how that would happen there.
Yeah. I definitely think a lot of it comes from fear. I think it's probably nearly never malicious.
Right.
Like, I really don't think that most people set out to, like, you know, help other people fail by any means. I do just think it comes from like fear, especially if like, it's like, you know, you just figured out something really cool that's helping you a lot. Right. And then you don't want to tell other people because it's helped. I get that mentality. I really do understand it. And I want to make sure we're like clear about that during this, you know, while we're discussing, because I think it can be like, there's probably people listening right now who are like, oh, I did that. Like, you're not at fault for doing that. Like, it happens.
And there may be people listening who are like, think that we're evil because we have these thoughts. And it's just thoughts that everyone probably has at one point or another, whether you just have to kind of reconcile it with yourself and kind of look inward.
Yeah.
And like, it's okay to explore all kinds of thoughts about this kind of stuff because we're human and that's what happens.
Yes. Yeah. You can't beat yourself up over that. Like, so like, what have you had any experiences with gatekeeping or a time you accidentally gatekept?
I feel like I'm trying to think actually, because I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I've had generic times, just blanket times where I've been feeling really down on myself and my brand and my business and my craft. And like, you just get in these like really low slumps, and I haven't responded to messages that normally I would respond to. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just felt bad. And again, that comes from a place of fear for losing what you have and, you know, just insecurity for sure. Yeah. So there are times where I didn't mean to like gatekeep information, but I had valuable information I should have shared, and I chose not to because I wasn't feeling good about where I was at.
Yeah. I guess kind of similar. Like, there's not like a specific time where I was like, I don't want this person to succeed. I'm not going to give them the information that they're asking for. But like, another thing you have to consider is it may not be like intentional if someone does that to you. Like, you still have to consider like the person's time and everything like that. Like, if they have to go like back like to like 2014 and find a whole bunch of links and stuff, then that's just, it's so much time. But like, unlike some people will message you and they're like, how did you make this costume? And I'm just like, well, which part?
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, all of it. And by the way, I've never sewn before.
Like, oh no.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. And like, that's not like gatekeeping in a negative sense. That's just kind of valuing your time. And like, I don't know, it's not a crime to be like, you know, I would search on YouTube for cosplay tutorials.
Yeah, I do the same. I'm like, YouTube is your best friend. Anything I did, I probably learned on YouTube.
Yeah, and like, I've definitely done that before, not because I don't want to help people.
Yeah.
But I think you have to just value your own time. Like, there's this time is time that I should be spending doing things that will further my brand and stuff. And half the time, the person doesn't even end up making the costume. Like, I'll be like, tag me when you're done. And they never do. I don't know.
They just saw your costume and got excited and were like, I want to do that too.
Yeah. But then you have some people that I will take the time to answer because like they have a specific question and stuff. And it's like it's really not, I like helping people a lot. And there's been people that have sent me pictures, like progress pictures, or like asked me follow-up questions and stuff. And I'm always like super happy to do that. It's just kind of, you have to kind of find a sweet spot of like helping people and then like just writing an essay and having nothing come of it except for like 2 hours of your time gone.
Yeah. And yeah, I wouldn't even see like, and some people would call that gatekeeping. I wouldn't. I think gatekeeping, the term is so fluid for people as well. And also we'll discuss like industry stuff, especially, or even costume stuff, whatever. But I think that sometimes it's important to keep in mind that like some people who may be participating in gatekeeping may also have been hurt or burned really bad in the past. Like you were saying earlier, like they've shared everything they had and then people purposely like sniped jobs from them or used it against them in some way. And that would make you wary.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. And like, it's hard to, and like, even I, like if I see somebody on Twitter being like saying something like, it's hard to be like, oh, someone's saying something that sounded snarky on Twitter because you're not hearing it.
Yeah.
But like, if you see something that you're just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, you kind of have to figure like, man, something probably happened to make them feel that way. And that sucks.
It comes from somewhere. I used to be of the opinion, like when I first started doing especially the marketing stuff for cosplay, the social media stuff and helping people, I was very much like, I'm going to smash every gatekeep. I will give everybody all of the info. Everything I have is yours. And then I started getting burned. And I've had to like evolve to a place where I'm still this open book who helps people, but it's not like there are people that I am wary of, and it shouldn't be that way. But I've tried not to like blanket that across everyone. Like I will not give this info now because of that situation. I try to just like keep in mind like the people who have, taken my, like I have had people, I used to share my workshop with people. So like my whole workshop outline that I would teach at shows and I would get paid to teach, or I'd get paid to do virtual classes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I would share that with people who asked for free because some people were just desperate and they didn't have a whole lot of money, and I get it. And then I had 2 different people take my class, rip it, and make their own. But they didn't even, it was just word for word, verbatim.
Wow.
It was mine. And they blocked me from the statuses. And
so, oh gosh, that's like so blatant.
And that experience though made me understand gatekeeping or protecting your property in a new way. I didn't close the doors. I just was more like, what's the word?
Like kind of
cognitive of
kind of peeking out the crack or whatever.
Yeah, like I thought a little bit more before just sending everybody links to everything. Because it's like, if you want my media kit, just message me, I'll send it to you. It's public anyway. Yeah. I will help you build a media kit. You can have all of that. But I'm probably not going to send you my whole class anymore. Yeah.
It just comes down to, you just have to put your foot down sometimes. And like, I've had people, like friends in the community, come up with really interesting concepts and like different mashups and stuff and different styles of photos. And like they've had people that basically just recreate their photo and like their stuff and their style, but they don't like make a mention of them anywhere, like inspired by so-and-so.
Yeah.
When they've worked really hard on curating the specific image for themselves. And like, they always say like, man, if they had just asked me or like been like, hey, is it okay if I like use inspiration from this thing for my thing, I would have been like, sure. But like they didn't. So now it's like this really weird dynamic or whatever. And it's just awkward. I don't know.
Which it's stuff.
Yeah. It's cool it's really cool to like share inspiration. And like, I get excited when I see photos where I can tell that they've used like my like tutorial photos or whatever. I'm just like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But like certain characters that someone maybe either made up or like a certain concept. Like I don't want to be like so specific or whatever because I don't want to like call anybody out. But if you've like really worked hard on a specific image and photo style and like whatever.
Yeah.
To have someone just basically recreate it without asking or stating that they're inspired is it's kind of bad manners, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's bad form. I think I may know what you're talking about. I know there was an artist who did some concept art for a cosplayer.
Yeah.
Who built the costume, and somebody just ripped the whole, even though it was a unique concept, they ripped it all. And it's like, the discussion there, is that flattering because they love the concept enough to do that?
Yeah.
Or is it intellectual theft?
It wasn't, I was thinking of another one, but I remember that one too.
Yeah. It happens so much.
Yeah. And like, it's fine to an extent, depending, I don't know, I think you just ask first. Asking is always preferred, I guess.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion, no matter, like, you can come into my inbox and ask me anything, and I suck at replying.
Yeah.
But I will do my best. And like I said, there's not much that I'm not going to give to you. Actually, somebody, after, I think it was one of our last podcasts, I had mentioned media kits. And I was like, I'll give you my link. And I had 2 people message me on Instagram, and they were like, can I really have the link? And I was like, yeah, I don't care. It's public. I will help you. It takes nothing away from me to share that with you.
Yeah, and mine's public too. I need to update it, but
oh, me too. Oh my gosh!
But I've got a link for it somewhere.
Yeah, like, so. One of speaking of gatekeeping, I know the next question I was going to ask you is, did anybody help you out in the beginning, getting started in cosplay? Because I know a lot of questions come from people who are trying to get into the industry.
Yeah.
You know? And like, for me specifically, I have this really lovely memory that really set the tone for me in the industry. When I first got like my first little paid gig, and I didn't really know how to progress. Mm-hmm. And I messaged Alexandria the Red.
Oh yeah.
Out of nowhere. Her. Yeah. In 2014. And I just asked her a couple of questions, and she responded so quickly, answered them, was lovely, and just made me feel welcome. Right.
Yeah.
She wasn't, and oh my gosh, like, especially then I was just like, she's such a big name. I admire her so much. I never expected her to reply, but somebody of her caliber replying to me and being so kind to me and guiding me in that moment really set the tone for the way I treat people in our community now.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, like, she's super awesome.
Yeah,
like, to this day,
she's lovely.
When I was it was like 2004. No, I started in 2013, and I am a very shy person, so I don't think I actually messaged anybody. I would kind of try and Google around and looking for tutorials and stuff. There weren't very many back then. And some of the ones that I came across did say, like, they would have a tutorial, but they would say, I don't give away my patterns or whatever. And I was just like, oh, crap. Like, not even sell them or whatever.
I'll give you money.
I know. Now I know that, like, it's not that easy to sell patterns or whatever, like, give away patterns. But back then I was just like, oh, man. So I just ended up doing everything myself, which is fine or whatever. Like, no one has to give away their patterns. But I think it was just like the times or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I did get shared by people when I first got started. Nicole and Destiny shared, Nicole Marie Jean, Destiny Nicholson shared me on their Facebook pages. And I was very excited. That was like the best thing ever. I was like, oh, wow. And they're really cool. So
that's another part of it. I'm glad you said that. Cause like, sharing, that's another part of, the gatekeeping aspect.
Yeah.
Like, gatekeeping, audience sharing people on your like pages or Instagram stories or retweeting people. That's something that is very, very gatekeeping can exist in that space is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So I get a lot of people who message me and ask for like share for share, and they're usually smaller profiles. And if I really like their content, sometimes I will do it. They don't have to share me, but I'll share their stuff because, I went to their page and I really like their content.
Yeah.
But I definitely think you're not under any obligation to do that ever.
No, I don't think so either, because especially, and it's hard because I know a retweet is free. I mean, whatever. It's just a retweet. That's easy. But like posting back in the day, you would make a whole post on your Facebook page or whatever for somebody.
Yeah.
And like, once you do one, you get like inundated with requests.
Yes. Yeah.
And you just can't share everyone. You can't just be an advertising page.
No.
So you have to, then it comes to a point where you have to start telling people no. And then they're just like, well, you shared this person, so why aren't you sharing me or whatever? And it's like a really hard conversation.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to, like, just because somebody is sharing somebody doesn't mean, like you said, like, and I don't think that should be, I've seen people get called gatekeepers for that.
Yeah.
Or for not doing share, for refusing any. Because the profile is Mion, mi.on. She is so lovely. She fell into my inbox forever ago and asked for share. And I went and looked at her content just because, you know, she was in my inbox and I just loved her work and she was adorable and she seemed really nice and I liked the way she engaged with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I did share out her stuff. And literally 2 minutes later, my inbox was just full. Because I think she participates in a lot of that. That's,
Okay.
like she's in a growth ecosystem
Yeah.
in that space. So people saw that I had done that and I didn't do any of the other ones. And I think there was one person who like sent like kind of a rude comment and I never responded to it. But you can't pressure people into sharing you.
No. And then if you get mad afterwards, then it just makes you look bad.
Yeah. I personally I just scroll through Instagram and when I see a photo I really like, I just share it. Like that's,
yeah.
I just will share it to my story and be like, wow, look, this is really cool.
Yeah.
That's just something that I enjoy doing from time to time. But I think people, like when you see bigger cosplayers, like the top rung of following cosplay who have like 500,000 and above, when you see them share a few people and then other people will be like, oh, they gatekeep, they only share the same like 5. That's their right. Like whether you like it or not, that is 100% their right because it's their brand, it's their page, it's their social media, and they get to decide how they exist in that space.
Yeah, like they may be sharing people that they think their audience would react the best to, I guess. Or maybe they're in one of those like clubs or whatever. Like
the pods. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of those are paid. I don't think people realize how much money cosplayers and creators are spending for each other on each other's pages and each other's stories now.
Wow.
Some of us, one example I have is London Andrews. So she's an online creator. She's not in the cosplay realm. She's just a model, beautiful. She's got millions of followers, but once a month she does a day where people can buy space on her page or story.
Yeah.
So as long as it's relative to her brand. So her brand is beautiful plus size models. So she will have other plus size women and non-binary people reach out to her and offer, say, oh, I want to buy space. And she obviously gets more people than she can fit, for the day, but she'll pick a few she thinks her audience will respond to best. They will PayPal her the money and boom, they were just advertised to her like 1-point-something million followers.
That's a great idea.
There's a lot of that going on, but there's a lot of gatekeeping of that. Back to like the growth cycle. Like most of the people who are growing quickly now are either in these ping pong pods or have an advertising budget or are collaborating like crazy.
Yeah. And I think there's like a stigma that behind paying for advertising in this cosplay community. It's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
Ever since Patreon started, people are like, you're selling out, you're getting money for cosplay and you're going to boudoir or whatever, you're a sellout.
Ugh.
And I feel like this, and like paying for ad space, like people ripped people apart for paying for ad space. Like there's no way to get your stuff to be like the platforms don't show our stuff to anybody.
Yeah, like the algorithms are so tight. The reach this is why people started doing this.
Yeah.
And it's not a shameful thing. I will say it's shameful to go out and buy likes. Don't do that.
And don't lie about it.
Yeah, don't lie about it. Like, be honest. Yeah, I don't think you can even buy likes anymore. I'm pretty sure a lot of those sites were destroyed.
Probably.
Which is good, because that ruins our algorithms, by the way, like pals.
Yeah.
But people like to equate them to being like the same. But they're not. Any company, business, brand is advertising themselves. You see so many, like my mid-rolls on YouTube when I'm watching YouTube videos and ads pop up. More often than not now, it's other YouTubers who've purchased ad space than it is like, Walmart or some big brand. And that's not shameful, because those people are growing and they're making money and they're getting more eyes on their work they wouldn't normally get with the algorithms.
Right. And like we've seen, we watch like TikTok compilations.
Yes.
But like all of those videos have like ads built into the middle, where it's just like a silly t-shirt company or whatever from wherever.
Yeah.
And it's not even like a rolled ad or whatever. It's like built right into the video. And you can tell that those like LED room LED companies or whatever, they're paying for ad space on those compilation videos.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just something that is happening now. And I think it's important to kind of be adaptive. And it doesn't mean you have to pay for anything. Like, I haven't paid for any ads yet, but I'm definitely considering it because my Instagram's been stagnant for 3 years.
Yeah. Get new eyes on your work.
Yeah.
Fresh space.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So,
yeah, and that's information that's gatekept that can be. I just feel like the main thing I want to convey during this is that there are instances where gatekeeping can be so damaging beyond what you think in our ecosystem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, these young creators that are just getting started and they don't understand why their content, which is just as good, isn't performing the same as others. And then they've got people telling them like, oh, I don't know. They just, I just get thousands of followers every day. And
I know I've had people say that to me and I'm just like, really? Like, does my stuff suck?
Like, yeah, it makes you feel, and it does. Let's be honest. Like, mental health is a very real thing in this. Everything we make ourselves. So you immediately think it's you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you take it so personal. I take it so personal.
I take things personally anyway. I feel like some
Me
days
too.
I'm like, I'm in the wrong field. Ugh.
I cry. But
Oh my
that's
gosh.
why just sometimes it can be very damaging. That's my concern for sure. Like, for instance, one of the things I have in our notes is, can gatekeeping be akin to bullying?
Yeah.
And especially when it's gatekeeping people out of communities entirely.
Yes, that can be very damaging.
I've seen that a lot. Like, that is something that's just so consistent in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And why is there not space for not even just in the professional side of it, although I would argue it's heavily there.
Yeah.
But even like just, hobbyist for fun cosplay, there are just people who spend their entire time gatekeeping people out of the community.
Yeah. It's like people that, it's like, it always feels like it's like the people who make money with cosplay versus the people who do it for a hobby. Like, both ways, like people that do it for money may just be like, oh, they're just hobbyists, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to hang out with them because we won't gain anything from them being in our group or whatever, which is really dumb. Like,
can you imagine how that mentality, like, that has to be exhausting for the person who has that mentality?
Yeah, like, imagine, like,
you don't want to just like pals?
Vetting your friends based on how much attention that you think that their audience will give you.
But there is a perception, and so like when I met you, and you wanted to like hang out with us, like, there was a moment of, why does she want to hang out with us? Because in the community, there was so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of helped teach me that, like, just pals, like, separate. Like, it's so like, separate.
I do not give a crap. Like, I don't understand why somebody, like, why would you, I don't know. I can't even think, my brain is just, like, malfunctioning right now.
Yeah. I can only be your friend if you have 500,000 followers.
Yeah, like, you're investing your time and, like, energy into a person. Like, they're not, like, a prop.
Oh, like the 10% thing. You remember that?
The 10.
That was.
Oh, I do remember that.
Last year or the year before, there was basically, I don't know who they were, and I'm not calling anybody out, but there was this perception that was being pushed across the community by a group of cosplayers that you should not collaborate or hang out with people who have to hang out with somebody or have them be a part of your life in general. Basically, they had to be within 10% of your follower range.
I remember that. I remember YouTubers talking about that.
Yeah,
some of the people in like the beauty space were talking about it, and they're just like, "What in the world is this?"
Yeah, like, so everybody I meet you and I vibe, but then we have to do the math to make sure that we're within 10% of each other.
That's so silly. Like, I get like wanting to combine audiences and stuff, but like, basing your real life friendships on that, that is silly.
You've gone too far at that point. And also, let's be super clear, like, so say there are two people and one has 20,000 followers and the other person has 500 followers. Well, what if that person with 500 followers, 0 of their followers have ever seen you or your thing? Like, you still stand to be exposed to people who have never seen you before. So I don't understand that mentality, but I do think our community breeds that mentality. Yeah. By nature.
Yeah. Whether they do it on purpose or not, it's like, and then people that don't know about it or are in the hobby realm, they see stuff like that. And they're just like, see, that's why it's trash to make money off cosplay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they think everyone in there is like that.
Yeah, so. I see a lot of tweets like that, like that, career cosplayers or quote unquote pro cosplayers are the problem in the community. Yeah. And I don't agree, but I can understand why they feel that way. Like, I can empathize with that so much when you see things like that. I don't care while following your gut. Just don't make me cry.
Right, exactly.
Just be my friend.
Like, just be cool. Like, you have to be a cool person. we have to get along, and that is it.
Yeah.
Like most of my friends, I mean, I have, of course, my online cosplay friends, but you are the only like person that I hang out with, mostly you and then Ash. Like we hang out sometimes.
Yeah.
And you guys are the only cosplayers that I really spend much time with.
Yeah. But I feel like when you and I spend time together, it's very rarely even cosplay related.
Well, yeah,
like
that's
just
true.
Like, which is nice.
Well, and even when we went to the lake with Ash.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even do any cosplay stuff.
We're talking about Bad Ash Cosplay.
Oh, yes,
She is local to us, and she is lovely. And I would argue just a great example of somebody who is just having fun and genuinely just loves the craft. She's award-winning. She's awesome, but she's also a math teacher.
Yeah.
She's just good people.
Yeah, she's awesome. Go follow her.
Yeah, go follow the Bad Ash.
At once.
At once.
But yeah, so, and I feel like hearing those things from the hobbyers, cosplayers can kind of make me feel wary, I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly, wary of like being around, like, I don't know, it makes me self-conscious when I'm like at a convention and I know that those people have said things against the like career cosplayers or whatever, because I really don't use that as any sort of measurement to who I talk to, because it would, I don't know, it's just silly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I agree with you. It creates this separation that's unnecessary, because I cannot think of all of the people we know, I cannot think of one fellow like working cosplayer who feels that way.
Yeah. Like, but maybe we just know good people or whatever. But
I just think it's the minority is always a little bit louder, and that's the problem with the like gatekeeping stuff.
Yeah. Loud minority.
Yeah. Like, let's just share things with you. Are entitled to keep things to yourself. If you really want to, that is your right. I encourage people to share. You're not going to lose your audience for, like sharing information or, I just share things with each other, pals. I just don't think it's that hard, but you have the right to not also. Right. Just don't be rude about it.
Yeah. Like,
I've had people get upset with me before for like, snap, like, so like the ads thing, the ad pages. Like I've had people like express that was something that was supposed to stay private because now everybody will flood to these pages.
Oh.
Well, like, well, guess what? If supply and demand, more pages will pop up, which means more audience. Also, these pages only post once a day. There's just not enough space for everybody. Not everybody has the money to have a budget. Like, what you're worried about is so unlikely.
Yeah. And you just have to, I don't know, like this whole thing is just adapting and moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's, I would say, and maybe I'm manifesting this into my own life, but I would say that I would like to focus energy on, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. Like, not focus on all of the negative, like focus on ways that I can adapt. Whatever, which I'm trying to do, but I understand.
I also feel like when you are a little bit more open and willing to share, like that, just the positive and the goodness that you are putting out there comes back to you. I really do believe that. And also it's really cool, like, especially when when I do my marketing classes and it's always full of people who do cosplay for a hobby who want to transition it. That's always the primary. And it's really cool to tell them little things and just watch them light up. Like, they're so excited because that just changed everything for them. Like, the little pieces of information you have may be everything to somebody else. Yeah. Like, so one thing I learned recently is for Twitch. So I'm working on trying to like do better on the Twitches. And I found out, and I don't know, I'm not saying this was gatekept or anything. It's just information that not everybody has. So I'm going to share it. But the best way to grow on Twitch is to grow not just while you're live, but you need to be growing like while you're not live. And the best way to do that is to take your streams, your VODs, break them into clips and set them to schedule on your YouTube and just make sure that that is constantly happening. Because then people find you on YouTube and they go to, and that is the biggest way that people grow.
That's interesting.
One of the biggest ways.
I didn't even know that. So
yeah,
that's really cool.
Like little things like that.
All right. So now, dun, 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 we're going to, I don't know, I guess play some devil's advocate sort of stuff. We've been kind of touching on all different sides of this. But we oops, that was my water bottle. We definitely want to acknowledge that there are a lot of sides to this, and everyone has their idea of which one is correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to kind of discuss ways that maybe gatekeeping your information or specific things might be understandable.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or like explore why people may gatekeep certain items.
Yeah. And you kind of hit on this earlier with like the rates, right? So
yeah.
I don't think people should gatekeep their rates as a whole, because I think that we need to set a standard. However, I get why people that I would be, if someone messaged me and asked for my rates, that's probably one of the things I would be most wary about if I was actively participating in a campaign. So like if a gig had been posted calling for cosplayers, and then a bunch of people message me that especially if I'm not super close with them, they're not like, like April, and they're like, oh, what are your rates? Well, then I'm wary, rightfully, of giving them my rates because of exactly what you said. I say, oh, well, I would charge $500 for this. And then they immediately go to the company and go $300.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
exactly.
That is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be that way, but it is because there's no standard in our industry.
Yeah.
So it creates a competitive marketplace.
I agree. And I was actually talking to my husband about this, and he works in like the sales industry. He oversees some salesmen that they travel to different car dealerships and do like service their like the fluids on their service drives for car maintenance. And like there's a bunch of different companies that supply those fluids to the car dealerships. And he was like, if a guy from this other company came to me and like asked me for a contact, like I would say no. Like, because I don't want him taking business from me. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, I know cosplay is a different industry, blah, blah, blah. We all like to support each other, all this stuff. Like, everyone loves to, say that we're not competitive with each other. We're all supportive of each other. But I think there's you can be that, but also be a little bit protective of your income, especially if it's your living.
Yeah.
I can understand why somebody might be really protective of that information.
Yeah. Oh, no. I agree with that. Another example is guesting.
Yeah.
So like guesting contacts, like before the COVID times, that's my favorite thing to do is the cosplay guesting. So I have a lot of people who message me about getting into guesting, and I 1000% will send them how to make your media kit, what is expected of you as a guest at the show. It's going to be really hard work, blah, 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 all of that. But as soon as they start asking me for those contacts, those direct emails, again, unless we're close and I know you and I know your intentions, like I'm probably not going to give you that. I will point you in the direction. Usually I will tell you, if you're looking to reach out to the show, then you need to go to their website and find their contact info. Even though I may have a direct person that I work with.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm necessarily trying to keep you out of that show, but it's because I have had people who I was in negotiations with a show that I was really excited about. I was going to get the gig, and then they went through and they undercut me.
Oh my
I gave them the contact. I gave them my rates.
Oh.
Naive, boom. And guess what? The show they're not going to hire me now. They didn't send me the contract. They didn't do the show. So I'm not going to give you the key to the house, but I am going to give you directions.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Like, I don't know. I had something in my brain that I was going to say, but I don't remember what it was. But
vroom vroom,
loud motorcycle. Yeah, I can definitely see why you might want to kind of keep that information for yourself. I was going to add that I would do the same thing too. Like if somebody emailed me and was like, how do I get in? How do I get into this con? Or how do I get in with this company or whatever? And this is what I was going to say. And you have to kind of think about your contact. Like, do they want to be just bombarded with messages?
Yeah.
Like, and if they knew that you were just like giving their name to everyone you know, or like everyone that asked for it, like that contact would probably not be very happy.
Yeah. Like that's going to damage your relationship with that person.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I was, the companies I work with, I don't work with any in a position that like I get to like bring people on, but I get to suggest people for things with one company that I've been working with specifically. I'm moving into a space where I'll be able to suggest and kind of help with some opportunities. I I would be really annoyed if one of those people that I was working with took my email address and then gave it to all of their friends, and my email was just flooded with, what about me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that is so...
And then it like makes you feel bad because you can't help everyone. You really can't.
And that's something I had to work hard on in the beginning. Like, I used to be like, you can help. And I do believe there's space for everyone to be successful, to be clear. I really do. We have so many companies and conventions and Twitch, YouTube, there's space for everyone. 1,000%. But like, there is merit to protecting yourself. You have every right to protect yourself, is I guess what I was about to get to. Because again, I've had people snipe things right from under me that this is my job full time. Yeah. If I give you info and you use that info to take a job from me, you've now affected my income, and that's personal.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever done that to me, like personally or whatever. Like, it would just be people that I don't know about.
Yeah.
But I do know that the jobs have been a little scarce.
Well, it's and especially I feel like the quarantine COVID times have certainly made things more competitive in that space. So I had a phone call last night with Super Casey, fantastic cosplayer. Highly recommend following her. She is also an open book and will help people with anything. She is responsible for such a huge portion of our community having their first time guesting gigs and getting them opportunities. That is what she does. Mm-hmm. But we were discussing COVID and this time that we live in right now specifically. And she said to me, because she hasn't been doing a lot of cosplay because she's been working for GalaxyCon, she said, well, it's a great time for creators right now. And I would argue yes and no. Like, yeah, there's, I guess, more time to create. But like,
you haven't been doing it.
Yeah, mental health, man. Ugh. But like the competitiveness, because everyone is competing in the online space now. And that has ramped up the gatekeeping and the withholding of information for sure. It's also important to note that if you see somebody you really like or really admire working with a company and you would love to work with that company, you can reach out to that company. Like if you would like to, the company probably reached out to that person, but that doesn't mean that you can't reach out to that company. It is, I think for me, I have concerns about people who reach out immediately when they see me do a sponsored post and are like, how do I?
Yeah.
How do I? Like,
it makes you worry that they don't value you as a person or as a friend.
Yeah. Like, I will give you all of the things, but especially if that's like the only time I ever hear from you. Yeah. I'm more likely to like withhold my information because we don't have a friendship outside of you trying to gather info from me. Do you think that there's an appropriate time frame to like if you meet somebody and you immediately kind of have a question, like they're doing something that you think is really cool and you want to ask about it. Yeah. In your mind, is there like an appropriate time frame that you should wait to ask that person? Or do you think you should just, like say somebody met you and you were like working for, just for example, it's the only thing in my mind, a Red Bull booth, right?
Oh my gosh.
You were doing a cosplay character for Red Bull at a show and somebody that you knew, like as an acquaintance came up and was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, how did you get this gig? Like, how soon is okay for you that they asked that? Like, does it bother you?
It would be weird.
Yeah, like on the spot.
If they did that. Yeah, on the spot is the worst. I don't recommend doing that. Because it just makes you look bad. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I feel like we'd have to have some kind of personal like relationship for that. Yeah. To where I would be comfortable doing it. Like I might answer after a certain amount of time or whatever. Like if someone messaged me, if they messaged me like immediately after I posted it, that might be kind of weird. Just like, hey, how do I do that?
Yes. That
would kind of throw me off a little bit.
And that's like the only time they've interacted with you. Yeah. Do you think there's a difference between like sharing information relative to paid gigs or just, maybe we kind of touched on this earlier, but like, for instance, like I was watching Mira Scarlett's stream the other week and a couple of weeks ago, and I really like her bots, like in her chat, like what they do. Mm-hmm. So I just messaged her and was like, what bots do you use? And she was like, Streamlabs, sorry. Boom. Like, is that different to you? How do you,
that's different. Well, cause like we both like know Mira. So it's like,
I guess that's true too.
Like we both kind of
I still felt a bit uncomfortable though. Not uncomfortable, but I was still worried she would, you know what I mean? I never want anybody to think that I'm...
Well, yeah, that too. I think that's the main thing. Like, I never want to like, even if I, like with me, like also being sort of reserved in a way, like I won't ask people a lot of times. Like, even if I see like a friend doing something really cool, or like a friend that has connections with a really big company that I really love or whatever, like I'm not, like I will make a point to not ask them about it, because it just seems weird. Like, I don't want to put that in our friendship or whatever. Then like I would never like use a friend for their like contact, because that's like, it's just not worth it. It's like it's like the friendship or like one job. Like, it's not worth putting that in jeopardy.
Because you never know how somebody will feel about what you've asked. No. That's what I, like, how do I convey my question as well as, like, you don't have to, like, I guess what I always do is I'll be like, hey, I have a question about this. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And I'll ask the question. I'll be like, but you don't have to tell me. Like,
yeah. It's like, if this is, like, it's cool if this is confidential, it's fine. But if you can tell me, then let me know.
I would like to know the things.
If not, I'll gladly do the work myself. It's fine.
Do you think that a website full of like resources regarding not just costume building, but like cosplay, like marketing yourself as a brand and contacts, getting in with like shows and gigs, do you feel like that would be beneficial for a community, or do you think it would make things worse?
Like a website? I know there was a website, this is going to date me, cosplay.com, but I feel like that was, I forget, I don't even remember what was on it.
Wasn't that like a forums
or something? I know there was a forum. I feel like some kind of centralized, like 2020 version of something like that would be beneficial. It would have to be really kept updated though, I think.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to have some sort of like resource that you can just direct people to if they have like a general question or something that you can't really answer in like a couple sentences.
Or if just like, I think just in general, like for me, so like an example is I work with shows as a guest, but I've never gotten to go to like, I know you have like PAX and work at those booths. And that's something that I've always wanted to do. But like, I don't know how to get there in this day and age. I don't know how you, do you position yourself to those companies? Do they come to you? Yeah. I don't know how any of that works. And I don't know anybody who currently does that well enough that I feel comfortable reaching out to them. And so anytime that comes into my head, I'm always in this weird place between, I should just ask, because if they say no, they don't want to tell me, it's fine. And also, if I do that, do I then damage my relationship with them to the point where I damage my opportunity?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe like a forum, kind of like maybe we could bring back cosplay.com.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a forum where you can ask, I mean, I guess people probably do that on Reddit. I don't know. I don't use Reddit, so.
Probably.
Which is probably part of my problem. But if there were like a centralized little spot or whatever, and if there is one and we just don't know about it, apologies.
Yeah, please tell us.
It would be interesting to just be like, hey, who knows anything about propositioning a company to work at an expo or whatever.
Yeah. Like somebody once said to me like, oh, you're not on the list. And I was like, what list?
What? Like, I'm not on whatever that list.
I know. Yeah. I don't know what that list is. Like and when people say things like that, like, oh, you're not on the list, I don't know if they're being like there's not actually a list. They're just, using that as a way to verbalize what oh, you're not like in that.
It's like
space.
in the, or people is there talk about like the group of cosplayers that has like 1 million or 500,000 or higher, the S Club 7.
Oh, the S Club 7 is S class.
Yes, S class. That's what it was. Which I'm not in. I think it's 500,000 or higher.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, anyone who has any information on forums, let us know.
Or even if it's not a forum, even if it's just just blatant pages of okay, well, I want to know how to get started in working with companies as an influencer. So there's just a page explaining different ways you can do that.
Yeah.
I also think that would be really good for our community, because again, the fear of reaching out to people and asking things, and then when people do reach out to you and ask things, the pressure of, well, I have to tell them or I'm being gatekeeping, or there's just so, like we said in the beginning, there's no wrong way. You are entitled because we get it from all sides.
Yes.
And I think just having a site like that isn't, there's no names attached to it. It's just clear, blatant info.
Yeah.
Would be awesome.
Or even I don't know, because we also talked a little bit earlier about pattern sharing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, there are people that make patterns to share, and there are people that make patterns for themselves.
Yeah.
And if you don't make patterns commercially, like if you don't know how to do that, then somebody asking you for your pattern is honestly, sometimes it won't even really help because it's like sized so differently. And you're like, if you give it to them and they're like, this didn't fit or whatever. And they're like, how do you even put this together? Like, it's really hard. So that's like another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, because I know friends that make patterns, they get just like bombarded with requests for, can I have your pattern for your Captain Marvel suit or whatever? Like, it's like, no, it's like specialized just for like their body and stuff.
And even if it wasn't, they have a right to say no.
Yeah, like they don't have to share it. Like I bought my Samus suit pattern on Etsy, and I was very happy to have had that. But yeah, there's like just if someone doesn't want to share their pattern with you or whatever, it's not because they don't want you to make that costume, usually, unless they're just garbage, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just like kind of understand that not everything, like it is good to share as much as you can mentally do and like physically do without kind of like only ever sharing. Like you're that person that always gives and never has any time to do their stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just, you have to kind of understand, I guess, where they're coming from.
Yeah, I think that's across the board on all of this. You're correct. Like, again, I am of the opinion that like information is made to be shared. For the 3 years ago, you'd have asked me, I would have said 100%. Whereas now, like I said, I'm a bit more like wary about, but it's just because like I got to a point where I was giving more than I was receiving. And that is a very real thing as well. And I just think that if you reach out to people and ask for something and they don't want to give you that info, I don't think it's appropriate either to go and like trash them.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we get to just move on to the next. Find somebody else who does want to give you that info.
Yeah. Like it sucks, and it may make you look at that person differently afterwards. Especially if I know that I've heard of some people being kind of quite short in their replies or whatever. They'll seem kind of harsh. And it's probably because they get bombarded with requests. But it still kind of sucks if someone does that to you. You're just like, oh, man, okay, I guess. And then you kind of like,
I think we all have to work hard on the internet to not take things personal, right? Because it's so hard to convey emotion through text message. Yeah. Like, if I'm messaging you, assume I'm probably like, this is why I use a lot of emojis. I'm bubbly.
Me too.
I'm happy. And I'm trying to convey that to you because it's, I don't know. And it's such a, like, I'm sure you guys could tell throughout this, like, we are going back and forth so much because this is such a hard topic to discuss in general.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to alienate people with this topic. Like I said, I'm sure there are some of you who are listening who are like, I don't want to share anything with anybody. I worked hard for all of this. This is mine. And you are right. Like,
that's fine.
That's fine. Everyone gets to, but we just have to be, I just want us to be conscious of where gatekeeping becomes genuinely damaging.
Yeah. And know how you act kind of affects other people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I should even say this, but I feel like even if people just bombard you with messages, like, reply back. Like, I feel like I always try to reply back in a pleasant manner.
Yes.
Even if I'm refusing somebody, it's just, I don't know, just kind of structure the sentence in a way that's just like, nope, I don't give that out. Like, that's not, like, I would not like if someone replied to me that way.
Yeah,
It would make me sad.
Like, they hate me.
Yeah, like, even if they're not or whatever, and if you want to reply that way to people, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can do that if you want to. It's just kind of a suggestion to maybe, I feel like, and I'm not saying the way I do things is the best, obviously, but I feel like trying to keep, like, I don't know if keep the peace with people is a good thing, but it's is the right term for what I'm trying to say. But I kind of just, I don't want to leave people like upset.
Yeah, with like the impression that you may not like them or have them short with. I understand. I definitely understand that as well. And I never want people to leave a message with me wondering what, like, oh, was she being, is she upset with me? Did I upset her? Did I frustrate her?
Yeah.
I like my intentions to be as clear cut as possible, even if I am saying no.
Right.
I like to make like the share for share thing. Like, I reply, I'm sorry, no. Like, that's not something I typically do.
Yeah.
There's a nice way to say that's a good point too. There's a nice way to tell people no as well. You can keep your information to yourself. Just like be wary of the way you speak to people, I guess.
Yeah. Unless someone is like rude to you right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. It's just rude. Don't come into my DMs rude.
Yeah,
What
like
is
demanding stuff or whatever. I'm going to need your pattern.
I'm going to need your pattern.
Are you sure about that? Okay.
But
no thanks, but okay.
It's just when a community full of different types of humans with different types of wants and needs and different emotional levels. And I just think we should always be empathetic and wary that everybody we speak to online is a person, and that, you know, like I said, some of the information we have may be, well, it seems like not a big deal to us, it may be life-changing for some people. And so every time somebody comes to you and asks for something that you can reasonably give them, take a moment to think, like, would I really lose anything by giving this person this information? Because it's very unlikely that if you do share someone to your story, all of your following is going to go follow them, and then they're going to leave you.
Right.
You're gonna,
exactly.
Like, that isn't the way. Because sharing people is free. We talked about, like, contacts, things like that. But, like, sharing people to your stories is free. Obviously, you don't want your whole story to be that. But a retweet or a share here and there, oh my gosh, it's so powerful for some people.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think you think that about covers? I mean, it doesn't really cover it, but I
mean, you'll never be able to cover it. I'm interested to know what you guys think and what your experiences have been with gatekeeping. If there are instances where gatekeeping has happened that has, made you not want to be a part of the community or kept you out of the community. Are there instances where you've experienced gatekeeping and you totally understood? And on the flip side, I'd love to know from our fellow creators who, there are times where you've had to gatekeep information to protect yourself, or times like I've had where people have used information against you. Like, I just want to know
all the things.
Yeah, because I think this is a really fascinating subject. It's hard to talk about, for sure.
And there's not really very many. I mean, there are people doing Twitter threads about it, but not very many. I feel like kind of a from all sides sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like you don't want to, people want to be like, well, you got to choose one or the other. It's like, you don't have to.
You don't have to. You don't. And I think that, you've heard us both a lot today go, I don't know, and you can tell that we're trying to discuss this from all angles in a way that's polite to everyone, because we don't want anybody to feel like attacked or anything, because you're valid. What you decide to do is valid. It's your brand, it's your life, it's your hobby. It is valid. We're just giving our opinions on both sides.
Yep.
And I just think we could go on about this forever. It's fascinating to me.
It is. And like, our opinions on it change every so often. Like, we kind of, as we grow and kind of learn more and experience more, like, our opinions can change from one gig to the next, or from one message to the next. It's like, it's really interesting to kind of see.
It's very fluid.
It is.
I definitely think, though, if we had a little bit less gatekeeping on industry, things like rates and getting gigs and media kits, things like that, it would be much easier for the working cosplayers and creators to almost unionize and come up with a standard and hold companies accountable.
It would be interesting. Yeah, so they pay us in general.
Yeah, we lack the ability to do that because we can't come together on it because we're afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like when you work for a company and they say you're not allowed to talk about your wages with the other employees, but then you find out the reason they said that is because they're paying some people $5 more than the others.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
Like, I hope we one day can get to a place where we're all comfortable discussing the industry openly, how we do things, how we got to where we were, what we're getting paid, what we'd like to get paid, because then we can set a standard.
Yeah. And I know the standard, it'll be hard to set because it all depends because of the engagement, blah, blah, blah. But if we had some ballpark numbers to go off of, then it would be a little bit easier to calculate all that stuff.
Yeah, get a foundation. Because most of those calculators on the internet are not.
No, they give me numbers, and I've given those numbers to companies, like large companies, and they just laugh me off, and they're like, no.
Yeah, no. And so they're so different too. You can put your stuff into different ones, and they'll give you totally different numbers.
Nuts.
But if we talked about it, pals, we could do it. We can do this, community.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. Even though this was a controversial topic, it would mean a lot if you would give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Even if you don't agree with us, just give it to us anyway. Only if you're going to give us 5 stars.
Don't gatekeep the 5 stars. Wow.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, we appreciate all the support that we've gotten, even though our episodes are kind of sporadic. but it's 2020.
Yeah.
So, yep. Be sure to follow us on social media. I'm April Gloria on Patreon, OnlyFans, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch as well.
I was going to say Twitch because you're going to stream
Twitch. Yes, I'm going to set up my Twitch very soon.
I am Oming Sophies with 2 I, no E on Patreon, OnlyFans, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Vero.
Oh, Vero. I forgot about that. Yeah. I'm on there too.
Do the Vero thing.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Goodbye, friends.
Bye.